Okay, everybody, this is my spoiler review of House of the Dragon, episode 6, The Princess and the Queen. Just want to clarify, please, especially now, no book spoilers. I haven't read the books, so let's keep that just somewhere else. Other reviews, you can talk about things we've already seen that have happened in the books and the show, but otherwise, anything in the future or beyond, please just do not mention. Leave that for somewhere else. And I want to also break up this review for the first time with House of Dragon into two parts because this episode is actually split into two storylines, or they're not as connected, but I want to start with everything in the main storyline, and then we'll finish off talking about everything that's going on with Damon. So what's absolutely insane about this episode is we have hit the 10-year time jump. We have new actors coming in, replacing familiar faces that we're so used to with the young Rhaenyra, Alicent, and Laenor even, and now they're changed to adult actors. It's something that takes getting used to, but it settles in pretty quickly, and I also think it's a smart decision because it adds to the heightened drama now and the change in characters, because they're not also just changed emotionally, but they're actually physically look different as adults, which obviously happens in life, and I think it actually really is effective here. And I also think this episode is really where it's showing its true colors. This show where, for someone like me, my favorite thing about Game of Thrones was all the politics stuff and all the characters like Tyrion and Littlefinger. And this episode, to me, I think is a feast for people who like that part of Game of Thrones the most. And maybe the battles are great too. I love the battles, but my main focus is in the writing and that kind of twists that happen and scheming. And I think this episode is just full of that, and it's done so well. So jumping right into it, with this 10-year time jump, we actually see Rhaenyra is popping out a child, but it's also a third child, we find out, and they're all boys. And it's interesting because we know with Rhaenyra, she never really wanted to be the woman that is just giving birth all the time. So you're kind of putting into pieces of where they are in their state of mind, where they're at now from what we knew of them, and maybe there's kind of a balance there. Things have changed in some sense and haven't in others. And I thought it was fascinating right away. They just jump you into Queen Alicent wanting to see this child, and you already see the look on Rhaenyra's face and the tension that is just in this divide between these former friends. But you see Rhaenyra made sure she went with the child. She wasn't going to let that child go alone to Alicent. And we also see Laenor here, an adult version, and awkwardly walks by Criston, who killed his lover. So you have to assume that Criston, the only reason he is alive is because he is a powerful friend in Queen Alicent now and probably protected him during this time jump from being killed. I don't know how they convinced Laenor from killing him, so that's the one thing I'm kind of scratching my head about, but maybe, again, it was something that Laenor was threatened that something would happen to him if he did it. I'm not really sure, but I do actually wish we kind of saw something about that. And then Viserys walks in, and you just can't believe this man is still alive here. I thought he died last episode, but he's still going 10 years later. The man is on his last legs here. And you see, though, Laenor on the spot is like, you know what, I'm naming this kid. And he's like, we're naming it Joffrey. And that is obviously the name of his lover who was killed by Criston tragically. And you see Viserys is like, he has his father's nose. So what this is telling you that Viserys is clearly playing the hard denial game here and not actually acknowledging what's really happening and whose child these boys really are. And Alicent says to Laenor, do keep trying though. Sooner or later you'll get one that looks like you. And in classic Game of Thrones universe fashion, you just have a thing like Rhaenyra when she's walking out with Laenor, she's just dragging blood down the hallway, and it was a nice shot with the blood connecting from Criston to Laenor. I thought that was pretty cool. And the moment you see Harwin now with the two other boys of Rhaenyra, you knew he was the dad of all these boys immediately. So you're getting fed all this new information and kind of catching up with what's been happening where we are now. And then we get to see Alicent's kids with Rhaenyra's kids, and you can kind of keep track because there's a lot of new faces now, but the green color and the blonde hair is the Alicent side, and you got Rhaenyra's kids in the blue with the brown hair. And they are having dragon school here, and Jacaerys, who is Rhaenyra's son, is getting his dragon Vermax bound to him, and he has him burn a goat. But the more important moment in this scene is actually when we meet Aemond, who is Alicent's second son, and he's getting bullied by Aegon, his older brother, who's clearly having Rhaenyra's children also help in the bullying by bringing out a pig to Aemon because they know he doesn't have a dragon. He's the only one who doesn't have a dragon out of the group, and he really wants one. But what's great about scenes like this is all character developing. It's developing also relationships between these characters, and we're getting a quick taste of what Aegon's like and what Aemond is like. But Aemond goes down this dungeon and finds this giant dragon. At first I thought this was Vhagar, but I do not think it was Vhagar because we see Vhagar is with Lady Laena. So I'm curious what dragon we think that is. Again, no book spoilers if you do know, but any theories if you don't know. But that dragon shot was awesome with the fire. It looked great. Also, we meet Alicent's daughter, Helena, and she is playing with a millipede and saying some weird stuff with this millipede. Now, I have unfortunately been spoiled by one or two things from the books in terms of certain characters, so I won't say anything. But this scene is a foreshadowing scene for book readers. She's actually saying stuff that's foreshadowing a lot of things. So I am curious what book readers think of that. But you see Alicent's pissed about Aemon getting bullied, and she says to Viserys, your grandchildren are savages, talking about Rhaenyra's kids. And he's like, you sure Aegon wasn't the one who put them up to this? And you see Alicent's like, it's a wonder that their eggs even hatched, talking about Rhaenyra's kids, because she knows it's not full Valyrian Targaryen blood here. We got a mix of Harwin's family and the Strongs. And she brings up, she has brought this up to Viserys before, and he shut her down. I was like, do not speak of this again. Because she's like, look, it's crazy just having one kid that can get everybody killed here with Rhaenyra, but she's gone now and done 3. Viserys just turns a blind eye to this. He knows what's really happening, but he's choosing not to believe it or look at it. And he keeps just saying the consequences of this allegation is dire, so do not speak of this again, Alicent. So you see that Criston, when talking to Alicent, and now clearly they set up that they were going to be very close, and they are, but Criston's like, Rhaenyra is a spider who stings and sucks her prey dry. She is a spoiled C-word. So someone is obviously still bitter that he got rejected by Rhaenyra. But Alicent tells him to chill because she's like, we are going to be better by being honor and decency here. Where she is a schemer, Alicent, but out in the open, she doesn't want to come off aggressive and sloppy like Criston is here, and he will the whole episode. He's just more and more a psychopath, as we see with this character. And then also what I like just about character details and learning about characters and relationships, you see Aegon is literally playing with himself out the window, and Alicent walks in, and this isn't even weird to her because this is probably such a repeated occurrence. So it tells you a lot about Aegon and hers relationship. She's not even fazed. And she's like, look, she knows the pig was his idea and the bullying of his own brother. And she's like, you can do that crap in the house, but not out everywhere else. We have to defend each other as a family. And she makes the point to him, Jacaerys will be heir when Rhaenyra gets thrown. And that makes you a challenge to her succession. So she could clearly kill you and your brother. So be on his side and protect him because Aegon is just an airhead. And she reminds him, deep down, people in the realm, we all know you're going to be the king one day. You are the firstborn son to Viserys. And you see Otto is coming out in Alicent now, the way she speaks to Aegon. So what I'm talking about with Criston just showing his psycho colors per usual, he is giving all his training attention to Alicent's kids and ignoring Rhaenyra's kids, and Harwin calls him out on this. So Criston decides to really just get a kick out of Harwin here by then taking Jacaerys and having him face Aegon, who's clearly out of his class, and basically has Aegon just beat him with his foot here. And this, he knows, will get Harwin going. But Criston doesn't stop there. He's like, wow, Harwin, your interest in protecting him is unusual. Someone that would do that for a cousin, a brother, or maybe a son. And Harwin just snaps, and rightfully so, and beats him up. But doing this in front of everyone will come off as guilt that these accusations are true. So Rhaenyra is told what has happened here with Harwin, goes to see him, but then sees Harwin is getting yelled at by his father, Laris Strong. And he's like, you blew it. You blew it for me, our family. Now we look guilty. And he literally says this offense will mean exile and death for him and Rhaenyra and their children. And he literally says the only thing saving you right now from that is King Viserys choosing to be blind to what is happening. So this is important. Rhaenyra hears this too, because this is going to get her paranoia really going into overdrive here. And then Laenor comes in with his lover hammered and runs into Rhaenyra, and he's like, the Triarchy's back here, and he's actually excited about this because he wants some purpose, he wants to fight, he's a warrior. And she's like, are you crazy? This is what you're thinking about? She's like, we got all these rumors cooking up about us now and our children. And she's like, you don't desert your post when the storm lashes. But this is where Laena's like, the wise sailor flees as the storm gathers. So this is a setup for payoff later in the episode that Rhaenyra will actually come to Laenor's side and belief on this. And also, Rhaenyra says a lot of very nasty stuff to Laenor about his sexuality, joke-wise here. And she'll come around in the end, though, and then let Laenor take his lover with him. Just a better look for Rhaenyra here. But she commands him as princess, you're staying by my side no matter what. And then one of my favorite scenes we get to is with Rhaenyra and Alicent. And this is where Olivia, Cooke, and Emma Darcy get to really shine here and show their acting chops. But they're just butting heads. There's so much tension here at the table. But I love they always show Rhaenyra's very smart war mind. And she's right. Like, the Stepstones now haven't been protected. She's like, what are we doing? And Alicent's like, oh, we got to save some money somewhere. And that's where Rhaenyra's like, the cost of war is more expensive than paying for that. And she's right. But Rhaenyra, like Alicent says, makes a move here that's clearly a play, a little with her back against the wall in desperation, like proposing to Alicent that Jacaerys marries her daughter Helena, and they would rule together. And this is, of course, Viserys' dream. He loves this idea, just peace between his wife and his daughter here and the houses. She even sweetens up the pot, Rhaenyra, and offers if Syrax has more eggs. Daemon has choice of one of them, and because she knows that's Daemon's dream. But Alicent is not falling for this play from Rhaenyra. But remember, Alicent also, even if she thought at one point this is maybe a good peaceful compromise, that she doesn't trust Rhaenyra now. She lost her trust in the last episode 10 years ago. So that trust has never come back, and she believes that Rhaenyra will probably kill her and her children. But then what's crazy is Lionel resigns as hand to Viserys. He's like, there's a shadow over my house and it grows ever darker. I can no longer serve you with integrity. And Viserys is like, what are you talking about? What is the shadow here? And Alicent's like, yes, what is it? Say it. But Viserys is like, if you don't explain to me what it is, you have to stay and be my hand because I love you as my hand. And he's like, fine, but I need to get my son out of here. It's, again, clearly Viserys is just turning a blind eye. Alicent knows this. It's Lord Lionel admitting, like, yeah, my son screwed up and he's messing around with Rhaenyra. Now, where stuff starts to get really, really juicy in this story is when Lord Laris literally steals the show. Alicent goes to see him. He has been planting the seeds to be in Alicent's good side and alliance from when she was little in the previous episode. This is the long play by Laris here. And he's like, my father's honor is compromised by actions of his son, meaning Harwin, can't give unbiased counsel to the king now. And this is where Alicent brings up she missed her father now as hand. And he's like, well, he wouldn't be impartial either. But she goes, no, he won't, but he'll be partial to me. So this is like that corrupt side of Alicent coming out. And she's like, in all of King's Landing, is there no one to take my side? But this is where Laris sees the opening. And I love this opens the door for a return for Otto. That's very exciting. I want to see more Otto, please. And Laris does this just great villain thing here where with his cane, where you see the B symbol, so you know it was him who sent the people to cause the fire later on, because the murderer has it on his coat later, that same symbol. But what's so cool about this is he goes to these criminals who are sentenced to death, offers them mercy by doing something for him, but the price they have to pay, not just for murdering someone, is they have to get their tongues cut out so they don't speak of who sent this order. Just a crazy smart move by Laris. I thought that was great. To me, it just shot his power ranking up of character in this Game of Thrones universe. And you see Harwin says his goodbye to his real family here with Rhaenyra and the kids, and the sad music was playing. You know how this is going to end up at this point. And Rhaenyra's even like to Jacaerys, hey, don't worry, we'll write letters to him by Raven. Doesn't that sound fun? I thought that was great. Any little detail that makes me feel like I'm in the world, I think is just hysterical. I love it. But Jacaerys is like, is he my dad? Like, am I a bastard? And she's like, you're Targaryen. That's all that matters. So she didn't deny it. And I'm just curious, though, why they aren't going by Valerian, these kids, as the last name. Isn't that the deal Corlys made with Viserys? I guess he's just not honoring his deal about that. So I'm curious what the deal is with that. But you see Rhaenyra comes around to Laenor's like, look, we got to get out of here. We're going to Dragonstone. And that's where Laenor's like, but what about your position? And he's like, you've always said, Alicent, if she was here without you, she would really take full advantage of that and get in your father's ear. But she gives him his own quote, is talking about fleeing the storm. And you see her and Laenor leave now to Dragonstone with their family. And I love Laris's narration here at the end, and it's when he's talking to Alicent. And we're seeing what he's doing. He's killing his own brother and father, having them burned alive. And he's talking about how children are a weakness, love is a downfall, believes to live a life of no attachments. He's showing you what his true colors are, how he believes to live as a man. And he says to Alicent, I assume you're right to your father now, talking about Otto. And Alicent's like, I didn't wish for this, but I'm sure she'll get over how it was done. She's, at the end of the day, got what she wanted, and he knows that. And he's like, I feel certain you'll reward me when the time is right. So he is obviously looking for more power and being on the queen's side. So just incredible episode for him in general, and I'm excited to see what happens with his character. He already is a big scene stealer. Now that's a great cliffhanger with the main storyline. I like how it ends there. Now let's go to everything with Damon. So you see that he's flying Caraxes and Lady Laena, who he has married. Now she's flying Vhagar. They're putting on a show for the people of Pentos and the Prince of Pentos, Prince Reggio. And he's offering them land in Pentos, money, there's a harbor there, and that they would be their new Targaryen lord. He's doing this because he wants to prevent Pentos from this triarchy, this Dorne alliance. They're building power, and he wants in on their dragons. And he perfectly plays the sell to Daemon because he knows Daemon loves the stories of Aegon the Conqueror and his house's history and plays off of that. He's like, you can aid Pentos as Aegon once did. But when Laena's about to say, like, no thanks, Daemon stops her. Daemon likes this idea of getting money in a simple transaction, bringing the dragons, but also that they're just guests there. There's not this political scheming he has to do and having too much responsibilities. He's sick of it. And Laena's like, this is against our Valyrian tradition. This is not how I want things to go. But Daemon just doesn't care. He doesn't even answer her. Daemon's in this weird state. We find him. He's like honestly depressed. Like he's not his most motivated self at this point. And she notices that. But you see they have 3 daughters and she's pregnant and one's on the way. And one of the daughters is waiting for this egg to hatch. It's been 8 years now. But she also mentions Daemon just ignores her. So with how this episode ends, it's going to be interesting to see how Daemon and his relationship with his daughters evolves, if at all. But Laena's trying to get at Daemon, like, you miss your brother like I do, and you miss home like I do. And he's denying that, but she's like, you aren't even going into the city of Pentos. You're not showing excitement even for that. You're just excited about reading those books of legacy. It's like he's depressed state of wanting to be like Aegon the Conqueror, and he's lost some sight of it. She's like, you are more than this. So tragically, Laena is giving birth and it's not going good. And the only way or chance of this baby surviving is by way of the blade. But the doctor says, no way Laena will live. And he's saying this all to Daemon. She knows, we know as the audience, that Daemon was going to just go for the baby and have Laena killed. He did ask if she would live. He wants her to live, but if it comes down to it where he'd have another child in his blood, he wasn't gonna let that pass. So what does Laena do? Laena goes to Vhagar and says, Dracarys, this is suicide by dragon. And I love that Vhagar was like emotional here, you know, like he didn't want to kill his owner, and she had to keep saying it. He looked amazing. The dragon, oh my god, the CGI was incredible here. But I believe she killed herself here because she knew either way she was gonna die, that Daemon was gonna take that choice of blade and have her killed to have the baby survive. I think that she couldn't live with having another daughter alive just under Daemon without her there. So she was like, I'd rather her not experience that like my other daughters have to, because either way, Lady Laena knows she is going to die. So I am giving this episode a 9.6. It's a lot going on. It's a reset in a sense, but it's already juicy. It's exciting. It's so well written. And again, the acting, still amazing. I'm really impressed by even the adult actresses. I'm really thinking they've just casted everyone out of the park here. And they look a lot like their younger counterparts, which is always a plus too. I'm really thinking the show is just like rolling right now. It's in such a groove, and it just makes me more and more excited what's going to happen next. I know that no critics got any episodes after episode 6, so we don't even know what people think about the next couple episodes. Some crazy stuff could go down. I just know I'm really in. I'm fascinated by this, and I thought this was just another great episode. I was worried about this episode the most because of the big time jump and new actors, but I am just satisfied, and I can take a breath now and be like, okay, this is still great, possibly even better. We'll see where this goes, but this is a 9.6 for me. Let me know what you guys thought down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. I read every comment and try to respond to as many as I can. Please make sure to subscribe so you don't miss one of my reviews. It helps me in so many ways just becoming a subscriber. You have no idea. Please follow me at Steve Varley Show on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok for more of me. If you really want to give me a tip, that would mean so much. Just hit the thanks button below or become a member today. You get exclusive live streams, and it will be a donation that helps me too. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time.